In the early spring morning of May 18, 2019, a group of teenagers walking through the woods discovered the body of Emily LeCanto. Emily, 19, was found brutally murdered, strangled and beaten just outside of her family home on the outskirts of Pullman, Washington. The police were quickly dispatched to the scene. Leading the investigation was Detective Frank Persetti, a seasoned investigator with the Whitman County Sheriff's Office. Persetti, 55, was known as a thorough investigator with a keen eye for detail. A veteran with 3 decades of experience with crime investigations, Persetti would nevertheless be challenged by this case, as he plunged into the tangled web of lies and deceit surrounding Emily's murder, unaware of the grim truths he would unearth during his investigation. As news of the murder spread, it sent shockwaves through the tightly knit community. At the heart of the tragedy stood Emily's grieving parents, her father, Eric LeCanto, and her stepmother, Annette Chapman LeCanto. To the outside world, the LeCantos seemed like the ideal blended family. Eric LeCanto, 43, was a respected businessman and community figure who owned a string of local gas stations and convenience stores in the area. Emily's stepmother, Annette, 37, appeared to be a grieving mother struggling to uphold her family through grief. But as Detective Persetti delved deeper, he would uncover a convoluted narrative of betrayal, secrets, and tragic outcomes that would eventually lead to their undoing. The story of the death of Emily LeCanto recounts a harrowing murder that fractured a family, tested a detective's resolve, and laid bare the devastating repercussions of unchecked desires and treachery. It serves as a chilling reminder that danger can lurk behind a facade of normalcy, even in the quietest and most peaceful of neighborhoods. By all accounts, Emily LeCanto, 19, was an attractive and likable young woman. Bright and ambitious, she dreamed of a life filled with adventure. A successful student studying at the local community college, Emily had a passion for art and literature and planned to one day become a writer and journalist. Yet, despite her academic and artistic prowess, Emily's home life harbored tensions. Following her father's marriage to Annette Chapman when she was only 13, Emily's transition into adolescence strained her relationship with both her father and her stepmother, leading to conflicts and distance. Emily's distance from Annette would ultimately lead Emily to investigate her stepmother, unraveling unsettling truths. And in so doing, she inadvertently stumbled upon a perilous secret, which would ultimately end in her death. Initially, however, suspicion fell upon Emily's father, Eric LeCanto. The strained relationship between Emily and Eric was no secret to those around them, fueling speculation of motives. To outsiders, Eric seemed like an ideal husband and father, offering stability and financial security to Annette and Emily. As a prosperous businessman, he projected an image of success and standing in the community. A widower from his first marriage to Emily's mother, Eric's encounter with Annette Chapman set the stage for a whirlwind romance, culminating in marriage and entwining their lives in unforeseen ways. However, beneath his facade of success and respectability, Eric hid dark secrets and unfulfilled yearnings. His relationship with Annette lost its spark quickly, leading him to engage in a forbidden romance with Alicia Gorman, the married manager of one of his local convenience stores. Spurred on by a sense of excitement that his marriage no longer gave him, Eric plunged headlong into the affair with his attractive employee. Meeting in secret, the two lovers shared stolen moments while their spouses were otherwise occupied or away. Over time, Eric became skillful at deception, hiding his double life. But as Emily grew and matured, her sharp observations and investigative instincts made him anxious about getting caught in his infidelity, causing him to distance himself from her and from family events. Nevertheless, Eric expertly managed to mask his inner turmoil. However, signs of discomfort surfaced in his behavior, noted by those closest to him. Despite his polished exterior, Eric seemed to be on edge, perpetually on guard. This facade shattered when Emily's lifeless body was discovered on May 18, 2019, concealed beneath foliage in the woods near their home. It was under these circumstances that Detective Frank Persetti was dispatched to the LeCanto home to lead the investigation into Emily's murder. The scene revealed a brutal crime of passion, with signs of a struggle. As the community grappled with fear and suspicion in the wake of the murder, Persetti delved into the case methodically and with an unwavering determination to catch the killer. Initial interviews, scrutiny of Emily's records, and reconstruction of her final days provided glimpses into the fraught dynamics within the LeCanto household. Conflicting testimonies and forensic evidence raised more questions than answers, pointing to a household rife with tension and hidden grievances. As Persetti delved ever deeper into the complexities of the case, he encountered a web of lies and strained relationships, shedding light on Emily's turmoil during her final days and the discord within her family. The investigation into Emily LeCanto's tragic demise would ultimately unleash a ripple effect that would challenge perceptions and unearth dark truths hidden beneath the quiet facade of the LeCanto home outside of Pullman, Washington. Persetti began his investigation by interviewing neighbors and friends of the LeCantos. A turning point occurred when he interviewed Eleanor Gilman, the LeCantos' next-door neighbor. Eleanor revealed that she had witnessed Emily arguing with Eric in the driveway the day before Emily disappeared. This information, combined with the turbulent home atmosphere and Eric's shaky alibi for the night of Emily's disappearance, led Persetti to focus his attention on Eric. Persetti initially hypothesized that years of resentment and friction between the two had culminated in a deadly confrontation. As the investigation progressed into its second week, Persetti became increasingly confident in this direction. He secured a warrant to search Eric's office, personal belongings and communications, hoping to uncover the critical evidence that would crack the case wide open. However, a persistent doubt nagged at Persetti. He found Annette LeCanto's demeanor and impeccable alibi all too perfect to be entirely convincing. Unbeknownst to Persetti, his instincts were guiding him towards a far darker truth. Yet, as the investigation unfolded, all signs pointed towards Eric LeCanto as the prime suspect in his daughter's murder. Detective Persetti, driven by the mounting evidence, began to build a case against Eric. He unearthed a series of heated text exchanges between Eric and Emily leading up to the murder. These exchanges suggested a strained family dynamic reaching a breaking point. Emily had discovered her father's secret affair and expressed her outrage and frustration at his duplicity, threatening to out his affair to all of his friends and colleagues. Further suspicion arose from Eric's behavior after Emily's death, initial distress and grief giving way to defensiveness and evasiveness during questioning. This was compounded by the fact that Eric's alibi for the night of the murder, that he was at his office alone working late, lacked corroboration. During a conversation with Eric's assistant, Detective Persetti stumbled upon a pivotal revelation. On the night of the murder, Eric had been engaged in a clandestine meeting at a coffee shop near his house with Alicia Gorman. The shop's camera surveillance and cell phone data also reveal that he had left the coffee shop and was home by 1 a.m., contradicting his claim of having worked late into the early morning at his office on the night of Emily's murder. Confronted with evidence of the affair, Eric confessed, revealing its duration and his previous falsehoods in order to protect Alicia. This confession cast doubt upon Eric's alibi, contradicting his claim of having worked late on the night of Emily's murder. Yet Eric adamantly denied any involvement in his daughter's murder, stating that while his relationship with his daughter was strained, he loved his daughter and would never do anything to harm her. As Detective Persetti further unraveled Eric and Alicia's web of lies, secret rendezvous and plans for a new life together, he faced a disturbing question. Could Eric LeCanto, the grieving father, actually be Emily's killer? With mounting circumstantial evidence, pressure from Persetti's superiors to make an arrest intensified. And as news of Eric's affair leaked out to the public, the community, gripped by fear, demanded justice for Emily, turning their initial sympathy for Eric into public scorn and suspicion. Despite his growing suspicion of Eric's guilt, Persetti wrestled with a lingering doubt. Something about his desperation and grief during his interrogation did not fit the profile of the calculated killer he envisioned. Nevertheless, armed with the evidence gathered, he prepared to move forward with an arrest. Saturday, June 8, 2019, was a typical late spring morning in Pullman, Washington. As rain cascaded down on the area some 3 weeks after Emily LeCanto's body was discovered, her father, Eric LeCanto, was arrested and charged with her murder. As he emerged from his home, handcuffed and protesting his innocence, Eric's wife Annette watched stoically from the doorway as her husband was placed into a police car. Little did Detective Persetti know that in his quest for justice, he had been ensnared by a meticulously orchestrated deception, allowing the true perpetrator to evade capture. The case against Eric appeared solid, yet Detective Frank Persetti couldn't shake the nagging feeling that something wasn't quite right. It was a seemingly insignificant detail that ultimately guided him towards the truth. Persetti noted discrepancies in Annette's alibi. She had claimed to have been away from home until midnight visiting her sister on the night of the murder, yet a neighbor reported seeing her car arrive home much earlier than she had claimed. Reviewing security footage near the LeCanto residence, Persetti was able to corroborate the neighbor's testimony. Intrigued, he delved deeper into Annette Chapman LeCanto's life and scrutinizing her movements and relationships. A follow-up search of the LeCanto residence was undertaken, which uncovered a journal hidden deep in Annette's closet, which contained entries expressing growing resentment towards Emily and lamenting her beauty and the attention she received from her father. One chilling passage read, "Sometimes I wish she would just disappear. My life would be so much better without her constant presence and her always judging me." The journal also revealed that Annette had recently found out about Eric's secret affair with Alicia Gorman, a fact which had filled her with rage and betrayal. "I hate him more and more each day," she had written. Additional suspicion was cast on Annette when it was revealed that following her discovery of the affair, she had secretly taken out a $3 million life insurance policy on Eric without his knowledge. It was then that the detective realized that he had fixated on Eric, nearly overlooking the truth that was now unfolding right before his eyes. The breakthrough in the investigation came unexpectedly from Emily's best friend, Carrie Guter, who came forward with Emily's personal diary. Guter told Detective Persetti that Emily had given her the diary with instructions to keep it in a safe place, in case anything ever happens to me. Persetti pored over the pages, examining Emily's private thoughts, which vividly documented her uncovering the life insurance policy that her stepmother had taken out on her father, and her suspicions that she planned to kill Eric in order to claim the life insurance money. Yet it was Annette's secret journal that provided the crucial motive. Annette had uncovered Eric's infidelity and devised a plot to take out a life insurance policy on Eric and then kill him in order to collect on the policy. On the evening of her death, Emily was gathering more evidence against her stepmother to take to the police when Annette discovered her reading her journal. Annette, realizing that Emily posed a threat to her plan, her reputation, and her financial security, confronted Emily and, in a fit of rage, bludgeoned and strangled her on the spot. Armed with this revelation, Persetti revisited forensic evidence, focusing on Emily's clothing for overlooked trace evidence. Fibers matching one of Annette's expensive scarves were found on Emily's clothing. Piece by piece, Persetti assembled the evidence that painted Annette Chapman LeCanto as the prime suspect. Emily's diary entries, together with Annette's own damning journal entries, pointed towards a confrontation gone awry. With mounting evidence against her, Annette Chapman LeCanto's meticulously constructed facade crumbled, revealing a woman driven to protect her secrets at any cost, even murder. In contrast to Eric's vehement protests of innocence, Annette's rather stoic demeanor had masked a dark reality, a truth that Detective Persetti had nearly missed in his pursuit of justice. As the puzzle pieces clicked into place, Detective Persetti finally grasped the full extent of Annette's deceit. Not only had she manipulated her family and her community, but she had also masterfully redirected the entire investigation toward Eric. The detective experienced a blend of begrudging admiration for Annette's quiet cunning, combined with a profound disgust at her ruthless actions. With mounting evidence pointing directly at Annette Chapman LeCanto as the murderer, Persetti understood the urgency to act swiftly. Under the guise of asking her for additional information to help in the case against her husband, Detective Persetti immediately brought Annette in for questioning. Annette initially appeared calm and composed on the surface when Persetti greeted her. But as the detective presented the evidence against her, Annette's demeanor suddenly changed. She broke down sobbing and began to confess. Regaining her composure, she recounted in cold-blooded detail the chilling events that led up to the crime. She had found Emily in her bedroom, reading her journal. Emily revealed that she knew about Annette's plot and threatened to expose her to her father and the police. Annette then recalled the overwhelming rage and panic she felt against her stepdaughter and her husband, and the desperate fear of losing everything as she attacked Emily. In a matter-of-fact tone, she described how she had lashed out in desperation at her stepdaughter, first hitting Emily over the head with a lamp, and then strangling her, silencing Emily forever. Annette's confession then proceeded to pour out in a flood of guilt and self-loathing. She detailed how, in a desperate act of revenge against her husband for his affair, she had meticulously planned to frame Eric, exploiting the known tensions between father and daughter. The subsequent arrest and trial of Annette Chapman LeCanto proceeded swiftly following her confession. Found guilty of first-degree murder, the judge, citing the brutal nature of the crime and Annette's calculated deception, sentenced her to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Justice was served, yet for Eric LeCanto, unjustly accused of his daughter's murder, and for the community of Pullman, Washington, and all those whose lives had been shattered by Annette's betrayal, healing will be a long and painful journey. In the end, the case of Emily LeCanto stands as a silent testament to the dedication of Detective Frank Persetti in his unwavering pursuit of justice and the enduring power of a young woman's voice that ultimately brought truth to light from beyond the grave.